So let me take a few minutes and just share my current journey with wholeness as has been so far. So some of you know I have another group, Unchained Bible Fellowship, which is kind of it started out singles, 30s and 40s group, and two different series there, and people, and at one point asked people what they wanted to hear about. And it was a blind, put in your name, no name associated with it, and you just pull out, and so I was pull out, okay, relationships, next one, oh, faith, next one, relationships, next one, finances, next one, relationships. So that's why I said, okay, I'm starting to see a pattern there. But I didn't want to teach relationship because I've been at singles Bible study and at a group called The Journey. I've been studying like relationships for 10 years, and I was like, oh, isn't everybody tired of relationships? But I said, okay, well, God told me to teach what the people want to hear. So I started teaching it, started looking at it, started initially from the Song of Solomon. Had never seen it taught from the Song of Solomon before, so I started teaching it from the Song of Solomon. And in parallel, I was also kind of going through my own journey of self-development. So I was looking at relationships and looking things like dating and attraction. So looking at things on the internet, tips and advice, and seeing all these people giving advice on how often to text and when don't take a Saturday date if you set up afterwards. So all these like manipulation techniques and all of these things, and realize, okay, there's a lot of broken people teaching you how to attract other broken people. And after getting further along, realizing that you can only attract whole people when you're whole. And so also during the journey, I was looking at other things. So I started looking at psychology. So looking at psychotherapy being, including Freud, the id and the ego and things of that nature. And then psychotherapy is also the whole, when people are looking at your inner child and how when you get in various traumatic experiences, you break off a false self and you change. And so the whole concept of it is that you want to go back. So you were born pure and whole, but then as you go through different traumatic experiences, you become tainted or broken. And so the whole concept of it is you go back and you revisit those childhood issues or different things, and then you can find your inner child. And also, so that's kind of the one concept. But then also there's another branch, existentialism, which looks at different. It looks at it doesn't assume that psychopathy or craziness is a result of traumatic experiences. You start out perfect and then you get traumatized. It assumes that, well, the world is so crazy. We all know we're going to die. There's mortality. We're scared of it. We all know we're prone to illness, prone to sickness. We all have lies and betrayal during our life. And just living life is enough to make somebody crazy. It doesn't have to be traumatic experiences. So that's another branch. So those are psychology. Then looking at also things, there's something called inner healing or sozo. So if any of you follow like the New Apostolic Reformation, the Bill Johnsons, Bethel churches, or those type of movements, it's an inner healing, which is a Christian version of that. So it's a Christian version of that, where they look at things you've experienced, but then they also look at it from a supernatural perspective, say, well, there's also demons involved. So in one sense, they may look at, okay, we're going to look at your childhood trauma, but someone else, they may say, okay, you got alcoholism, so to get rid of your alcoholism, we're going to pray and cast out the demon. And so some people may get healed from that. So looking at that, and then also looking at 12-step programs, which are the most successful programs for curing addictions and things like that. So as a result of looking at all of that to teach, I said, to teach these people. I was looking at all this to teach these people because, I had it all together. So I'm looking at all this to teach these people. But so I'm realizing, well, hey, maybe I don't have it all together. Looking at my life and realizing that, as far as looking at relationships, well, I've been attracted to the wrong people and I've attracted the wrong people. So then looking at cycles of my own relationships, it's like, okay, I've been in relationships with people that were hard to please and that were emotionally unstable, maybe very dramatic, or people that, as somebody mentioned a couple weeks ago, you had to walk on eggshells with them, you say something, they're going to blow up, or people that were narcissistic or controlling or drama queens or victims. And so after a while, you start to think, well, all women are this. Or if women who date men, you hear like all men are dogs. And so if all your people you interact with are a certain way, you think, well, all the people are this way. I'm okay, I'm normal, but all women are this. Or I'm normal and all men are this. But then you get to realize that, well, if all of them, if everybody you meet is that way, I heard one psychologist say, he talks about, that he sees a lot of relationships where one person is normal and the other person is everyone else can see that person has some issues, has a lot of issues, a lot of brokenness, but the other person is normal. And he said, whenever you have that situation, 100% of the time, you have two broken people. He said 100% of the time, because you're not going to be in a relationship with that type of person unless you're broken. And so a lot of times, there's codependent relationships or there's just matching neuroses. So I'm, during this process seeing, okay, well, I've got things that I need to look at and issues. And so during that, so I began my journey to wholeness with this and discovered issues like the fact that I was overly concerned with other people's opinion. Realized I was overly concerned with other people's opinion, and realized that I avoided conflict. I would do things to avoid conflict, or that I was a fixer. I would try to fix other people's problems, or that I took responsibility for other people's emotions. Someone was sad, I felt like it was my job to make them happy. And so I started, finding various things about myself. And then at the same time, I was teaching this Bible study. And as I'm seeing concepts, I'm seeing that there's a relationship. So we're talking about, in the Kingdom of God series, we're seeing the cares of the world. The cares of the world will keep you from entering the Kingdom of God. And that the cares of the world is a big theme, that Christians shouldn't have. But then realizing that, well, that's kind of analogous to, removing the things that are in the way from, getting your inner child. So the cares of the world are a problem, or renewing your mind, which was kind of the theme we ended up at the last time. So going through that and seeing how, okay, there's a biblical relation to this, and then that kind of led me here too. So I'm on the path, and now, hoping that you guys will come along with me, and we'll all get healed together. We'll all get healed together. So just in general, so God could clear you of alcoholism. You can turn to Christian alcoholism, but then 7-8 months later, go back to it, because you were cured of alcoholism, but you weren't cured of the depression or the feeling of worthlessness that you use alcohol to drown out. So you need to get healed of so a lot of the higher the coping mechanisms, the addictions and things aren't the real issue. I heard this one psychologist told this person went to see him, and because he was an alcoholic, and he went to a psychologist and says, I want you to cure my alcoholism. He said, can you tell me my problem? He said, yeah, I can tell you your problem. He said, okay, well, tell me my problem. He said, all right, I can tell you your problem. First, you have to stop drinking alcohol. He was like, well, because it's like, because that wasn't the problem. So it's like, that's never really the problem. The addictions are never the problem. It's something, the alcohol, the pornography, that's, maybe you're feeling hurt, maybe you're feeling lonely, maybe you're feeling anxious, and you turn to the addictions. But it's a coping. That's how you cope with it. You have an unhealthy method of coping with it. But medication. Yeah, you medicate it. You medicate the issue, but you never really resolve the real issue. So the first step is to identify the real issue. Identify why am I? Because some people go through life thinking, oh, my problem is I'm alcoholic, but you never identify that you get lonely. You never identify the fact that I just feel worthless or low, or or never identify the fact that I can't handle. This anxiety is just too much for me to handle. I can't cope with it. I need a release. I need a release from all of this stress and this anxiety. So you never identify that that's the real problem.